Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Social Media Derby. We've got a really cool episode today coming up. Not the greatest results for both of our teams. One match pretty stinky and boring, and one, we just got completely dominated and got very exciting at the end. But yeah, we'll dig into all of that stuff in a minute. But before we get into the episode this week, for all of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it if you can, drop your comments down below. We love interacting with anyone that's watching or listening, sharing your views and getting involved in the show. For those listening on any of the audio platforms, Spotify, Apple, please follow, give us a 5-star review if you can. Every little bit is appreciated. So yeah, try and get involved on the audio side as well. For all of you listening as well, you may have noticed last week, we're no longer doing full episodes of the podcast on YouTube. We're splitting them up into segments. So the audio platforms are the only way to listen to the whole uninterrupted episode. So if you just want to put stuff on in the background and listen to it all the way through, I suggest listening on the podcasting platforms. If you just want to watch the segments, go on YouTube and get involved. But yeah, let's get into the episode. Johns, how you doing, mate? You doing all right? How was your Easter?
Yeah, mate, I'm not doing too badly. Easter was good. Back at work now, back to the grind. But over the weekend, obviously there was supposed to be what you'd hope to be good sporting events, particularly in the form of the Arsenal City match, but didn't live up to what I was hoping it would. But I'm not sure if you managed to watch the boxing, Fraser Clark against Fabio Wardley. That ended up living up to it. So the overall weekend was decent in terms of entertainment, and obviously some of the other football matches were also very, very funny to watch, particularly the Newcastle match.
Yeah, there was some good sport on this weekend. We won't give any credit. Well, let's see if you give any credit to the Arsenal City game, but the other sport was amazing. That boxer card on Sky was really good. There were a couple of fights on there that were decent. Ben Whittaker was obviously out there showboating and doing his usual stuff, so he had a pretty impressive fight as well. But that Wardley Fraser Clark was an absolute throwback heavyweight. Yeah, wow. Yeah. Clark got knocked down. Wardley's face looked an absolute wreck at the end. They were both out on their feet. It was class. So that kind of made up for some of the rubbish games in the Premier League this weekend. But yeah, that Newcastle West Ham game, I've got to say, my curse is living strong. I was 3-1 up West Ham. I was giving it to Newcastle on the chat with you, and then Moisey goes and screws me over. So he's keeping United fans sad. But I don't know how they threw that away. And big props to Newcastle, Isak in particular, cold-blooded
Isak
killer.
and Gordon were going absolutely mental. Well. And then what was his name?
Harvey Barnes as well at the end.
Harvey Barnes came on and just went brazy at the end as well. And they've got so many injuries, it's mental. Like they got, I think it was Almiron, Lascelles, and one other person got injured in the middle of that match. So I'm just like, you already had no depth, but now you lot look absolutely terrible.
Yeah, but I wouldn't you don't want anyone to get injured. So, hope those guys get better soon. But, I would argue their wings with Barnes and Gordon are probably better than with Almiron on, and their centre backs, Shah and and Botman are better than Lascelles. Lascelles kind of emergency thing. So
No, of course, but I mean, Botman's out.
first
Botman's
team,
out like
yeah.
long term now as well. So they're
Is
fully
he out as well? Wow.
Yeah, that's why Lascelles was playing, and they had to do some madness. I think Livramento started on the right hand side, and then when Lascelles got injured, he completely changed everything round, put Burn in the middle, moved Livramento onto the left hand side, and I can't remember who went right, but that was pretty much the reason why they started. They conceded, I think, one of the first goal as well. So it was it was not good viewing, and mate, Newcastle are right in the mud right now.
Well, they got the win at least, so big them up on that. You know, that's probably the only Newcastle prop we'll give on the podcast. But let's get into the proper the Arsenal and Man United chat, because this isn't a Newcastle podcast. But let's get into the big game of the weekend then. City 0, Arsenal 0. You didn't get your prediction 100% right, because I think you went 1-1, didn't you? But you did mention it could be 0-0 or 1-1. Yeah. There was a little bit of action, but I've got to say, my personal 2 cents on this one, or 2 pennies on this one, is you two just us like Arteta. I rate him for it, because he completely changed the style of play. He completely adjusted for this game, and it made complete sense, because this is the last top 3 fixture out of the 3 of you, and he's come out of this with the best record. 2 wins at home against Liverpool and City, 2 away draws at the Etihad and at Anfield. You can't complain, man. You've taken points off them, which is what you want to do against your rivals. So I give him props for it. But from a viewing perspective, oh hell, that was one of the stinkiest big games I've seen in a little bit. And I'm really glad we didn't watch it live. Like, we went and did our family stuff instead, because I don't know, personally speaking, result-wise, you take it, you've got to be really happy, and you might rue not kind of going for it, because City weren't at their best. But in terms of a spectacle, it certainly wasn't, as you predicted, it certainly wasn't a United-Liverpool game from the FA Cup a couple of weeks back. It was very few chances, a lot of people marking other people out of the game. Your wingers were doubling up on their wingers. It was a really good tactical defensive display, but in terms of a spectacle, yeah, it wasn't the greatest. But let's get your view, John. That's just my outsider's view. What did you make of the game, and are you ultimately happy with the result?
The game was obviously not very eventful, but it's what I've come to expect from 2 big teams playing each other, and I kind of said it. I alluded to it in the last episode. Really, is that when you see 2 very tactical, kind of very thoughtful managers line up against each other, particularly in the Premier League, you don't tend to get great football, right? And I think I said it in the group chat as well. It's like, you need teams to be a bit worse, generally speaking, from a tactical and from a man-to-man perspective, for the game to be a bit more fun. And I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, like, I'm happy to get out there with a point. I think everyone's always criticizing us, saying, oh, we bottle it here, we bottle it there, we don't know what it means to win, we can't, we don't have the experience, and so when it comes to these really big ties, we just completely bottle it and lose and whatever else. And I think, from my point of view, what I see Arteta trying to do maybe is, it doesn't matter how we play to get the result. Let's just get the result, and let's make sure that the people in this team remember that we can go up against these teams, and we can get out of there, without conceding goals. We can get out of there winning. We can get out of there, playing an even game. So from my point of view, I don't think we didn't line up to be the most attacking team, but what, sane manager wants to go up against Man City and just start taking major risks all the time? I think Arteta's too smart for that. I think he realizes that there's still a lot of games left to play. We don't need to be going like balls to the wall to try and smash City out the water at the Etihad, which we know from last season is a really difficult, job to do. I mean, the fact that we're the first team for a long time to keep them without scoring at their home ground is mental as well. So, I mean, it's not an easy place to go and to just expect that you're just going to batter them off the pitch. So from my point of view, obviously, I think we are the main culprits for making the game a bit worse. I think we obviously defended really deep. We put a lot of men behind the ball. We were very organised, a lot of pressing, and then when the press was broken, it was a very deep, everyone get back behind the ball kind of affair. And again, how do you go up against City and try and get something at the Etihad without doing something like that? And in my mind, it's exactly what I want to see from Arteta. Not in the fact that I want him to be a very defensive manager, but when we come up against a team that is man for man probably better than us, right? And I've seen all the combined 11s. There aren't a lot of Arsenal players in a lot of you lot's combined 11s. So if we're coming up against a team that's man for man better than us, then I want to see him show me like that you can play against this team without having to like play our absolute best football all the time and smash them out of the water. So it just shows to me that he's got more depth, more dimension to his game than I first expected, because I think this is the first real time that I've seen us proper, like, not house it, but proper get people behind it and just and not take major risks to try to win the game. So I mean, overall, from my point of view, I'm happy with it, but yeah, I admit it's not a great viewing for a neutral.
Yeah, no, like I hear you, man, and I completely understand. I would actually kind of argue a little bit though and say early stage Arteta, he did this kind of stuff, and this is the reason why, like I've been more bought in than maybe some Arteta questioners and some other rival fans who've kind of said that he's rubbish when you guys were, in eighth and struggling a bit, because he showed this kind of flexibility and like kind of lack of arrogance or like overly stubbornness to like only be able to play one way. Because early days when you had the Mustafis and the Kolasinaks and the the people that obviously he didn't want to have in the team, he realised I've got to just try and play on the counter with Aubameyang over the top and do things that maybe you can see now or maybe not his philosophy of football. So I think there were times where he's been naive in the past when he's gone, okay, I want to keep playing my style now. We're playing so well and you get spanked a few times. But he's finding the balance, which, to be honest, man, this is title winning stuff. When a manager starts to find the balance, he's proven that he's got these different facets to his game. I think sometimes it's unfair when people look at Arteta and say, "Oh, there were these shoots of beautiful football in the early days." I don't think so, man. There were shoots of him having character and him like working things out tactically. I actually think you only saw the shoots kind of all sprout in one go, and that was what last season really, or like maybe the season before the kind of top four problems with Spurs and the bottling and all that kind of stuff. You started to see the shoots. We're in season 3 then, so that's why I believe in giving managers time, and I think Arteta got this spot on. And there's a bit of irony involved because we'll get into the key events in a minute, but obviously some people are saying it's a park the bus, some people are saying it's a tactical masterclass. There are less people probably hammering Arteta now about taking this approach than, for example, we did when we went to Liverpool. I think everyone was like, oh, we completely parked the bus, and I get it. There's a slightly different narrative, but that comes with you guys playing much better than us, so you get a bit more grace, right, for putting in this kind of display away in a title race. It makes complete sense. But let's get into the key events quickly. There were a few chances. I know there weren't loads, but Gabby Jesus had one early doors. It wasn't like a huge, massive chance. I guess on XG or whatever, it wouldn't be a plus 0.5 chance. But he had a snapshot, which I think Ortega in goal made a really good save. But I guess you could say you would hope maybe he would have had a bit more of a decent chance at scoring that, or do you feel like that was kind of not really a big chance and more of a half chance? Are you going to give Jesus any blame, or do you feel like he did his best with that?
I mean, I think it's a half chance for him. I think it's probably a full chance for someone who's slightly better at finishing, right? So I'm not going to go too hard on him. I think that he had a decent game. He does what he needs to do. He puts in a lot of work. He's running around giving a lot of people a hard time the whole time, and it puts a lot of pressure on their back four. So I genuinely I'm not like angry that he missed those chances. I do think obviously there was also one, I think, in the second half or maybe later on in the first half where Saka puts the ball across the mouth of the goal and he kind of doesn't go after it properly. It goes past the defender and it ends up just going straight. over to the corner flag, and that one, if he had got on the end of it, was pretty much an open goal or like a very easy one-on-one where I'd imagine that he would have scored it. So I think all of our best chances really fell to him, and I mean it just kind of confirms to me the need for, in these kinds of games, these like smash and grab type of games, we do need to have a very clinical striker to be able to get the most out of it, right? I think he's probably not that, and at the same time, I'm not asking him to be that. I think he has a position in the team, he has a role in our squad that isn't that, and I think we've had enough time now to see that he's not going to be the most clinical striker around. He's got his strengths, you know, in terms of his work ethic, in terms of his build-up play, in terms of his dribbling ability and the ability to kind of make chances out of nothing. But his ability to finish those chances isn't exactly what we need. So I'm not angry at him. I do think those could have been, like, you know, obviously game-changing moments. And I think had we probably scored one of those, I think we would have seen a different game. I think we would have seen Man City probably have to open up a little bit more, and maybe we would. I'm not saying that we would have, you know, not stuck to the man behind the ball kind of methodology, but I imagine that we probably would have tried to take a couple more transitional chances and probably got a few more chances up their end had they gone 1-0 down. So it's really just a game of moments, and unfortunately, Jesus couldn't really, he couldn't capitalize on those chances that he had.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think it would have changed the whole landscape of the game, really. I think we've talked about it in a couple of other games, right? Scoring early sometimes obviously it's going to completely change the game. So I reckon if you'd have, for example, if Jesus maybe scored that first chance, City come out, you come out, then you have maybe more of a, you know, a possibility that it's going to become a Man United Liverpool style of game going end to end, because they've got to go for it. If you'd have scored late on with that, or in the second half when Jesus had the kind of the goal mouth kind of cross that Saka put across the goal, yeah, I'm not sure. I think you guys would have just snuffed them out and held on probably for a 1-0, and it was probably timing wise.
Yeah, a later goal would suit us better. Like in the first tie of this season, or Gabriel Martinelli smashes it off someone's back or whatever, and it goes in. Quite a late goal.
His face, isn't it? Yeah, Ake's face.
Yeah, it was a later goal, and it kind of that was easier to defend against. But as you said, when we score some early goals, sometimes it gets real cagey because teams just start going at us, and we can't sustain that defensive kind of solidity for the whole match, and they end up being able to get a goal back against us pretty quickly. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not disappointed necessarily by not scoring some of those chances. Obviously, the one, as I said, the one with Saka across the goal, that could have been nice. But again, I'm happy with the point. You know, it's a difficult place to go, and we need, as I said before, we need these players in their heads to know that we can go there and get results. We need to prove it out whatever way we can. I don't care about playing beautiful football. These are young guys that haven't done this or been in this position properly before, and when they have, they've bottled it. So I just need them mentally to know this is possible. And I think mentally, that game was the perfect for us, because it said to them, you know what, they can have all the ball all the time. It doesn't matter. We are structured. We're organized. We won't be broken down. And I mean, it's good practice also for the Champions League, man. When we're coming up against Bayern and Real Madrid, do you think that we're going to be going toe-to-toe with them the whole 90 minutes? No chance. We're going to need to be defensively solid when we play against those kinds of teams, right? I'm not even going to get ahead of myself to say Real Madrid or Man City, actually, because Bayern Munich themselves are a really hard tie. So I think generally speaking, it's good experience, and all of the best teams I can think of have that ability, right? The Arsenal, you know, Invincibles, the Man United treble winners, the Man United of pretty much a 15-year period after that as well. Like, you guys had that ability to just, you know what, we're shutting up shop, right? Like the Chelsea team, the great Chelsea teams under Mourinho have that ability. So 15 goals, from that perspective, this is another kind of feather in the cap for us, I think. And if we can prove it against Man City, then I hope we'll be able to prove it against others as well.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a good sign, man. They haven't scored against you in both league ties. I know they scored in a Community Shield in a 1-1, but I think I've heard Arsenal fans gas that up and other fans talk about the Community Shield. No one gives a crap about that, so I'm not counting that. That's basically a friendly. But the two league games, they haven't really had a sniff. Like, I know we got to talk.
I think I saw a stat. Haaland hasn't had a single shot.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, but
Saliba
he was
and Gabriel
absolutely
just
poor.
absolutely shut him down.
Yeah, he was absolutely poor in this game. Gary Neville said it on comms, and there are times when we don't necessarily agree with Gary Neville, but it's kind of true. He kind of looked like he didn't know how to play football at times in that game against you guys a couple of days ago. Like, obviously he's got the danger in front of goal, but just sometimes his coordination just makes him seem like he doesn't know what he's doing and he doesn't know how to control his body. But I think that's kind of natural of someone his size. But boy,
It's
dropped a
also
bit of a
partly though,
stinker.
like we no offense, like I'm not trying to blame it all on him, but we've made him look bad, right? Like
No, Gabriel and Saliba
against
were
slightly,
world class in that game.
yeah, like
World class, shutting down.
we've made a lot of their good players look bad, right? And
Yeah,
it's only their really classy players that are able to break through it. And I think Haaland, as we've said before, like Haaland is the best finisher in the game, but outside of that, there's a lot that needs to be developed about his game. And I think Gabriel and Saliba knew that. And they said, all right, we just defend deep. You're not going to get a sniff at goal. We're going to shut you down, push you over, do whatever we need to do to you. And you haven't really got the facilities to try take one of us on one-on-one with the ball on the ground and try and beat us. So, outside of that, you're not in the game, mate. Good luck. So,
yeah. You got to just cut his
unbelievable
sources out,
performance.
innit? Like you just got to cut out his source, and then he's not really going to give you any problems necessarily one on one, right? Like if you're a Gabriel, Saliba, Van Dijk level defender, and we've had the argument with that one on one with City and Liverpool, right? Van Dijk and Haaland. I would back the defender in every single one on one with him. Those three. I'm not saying everyone because obviously you look at what happened to Branthwaite in the Everton game, right? He obviously got dropped. And Haaland tucked it away. But if you're talking the top defenders in this league, the Van Dijks, the Gabriels, the Salibas, I would back them one on one against Haaland. So what City have to do is try and get the De Bruynes and the Bernardo Silvas to try and create opportunities for him where he's not one on one, where he's got open goals, where he's got opportunities, where he's away from the defenders. And if you cut those sources out, which you guys did with your doubling up, right? On Ben White did really well. I thought Kivior was a bit shaky, but still in the overall grand scheme of things, he did his job. But he relied heavily on Jesus and Saka coming back and not really offering anything going forward, right? Their defenses were, and I think it was Gary Neville said it was almost like a 4-4-2, which I think was genius. For the game plan, it was genius. Cut off their sources to Haaland, and Gabriel and Saliba, who I thought dropped absolute world-class level performances to shut him down. I know Saliba probably did the more flashy things, but Gabriel continues, man. The Gabriel hype train.
He's a juggernaut.
I'll continue to drive that train because he's been absolutely amazing this season. And I think that bozo gene has been removed. He's been in a lab. Someone's got in there and pulled it out of his head, and he's not doing stupid stuff anymore. Touch wood for your sake. But he's been really, really good. And I remember we were in for him at the same time. And, when he was dropping all his clangers...
You've been in for everyone.
No. He made the decision. He chose you guys over us. Like, it was... Like, Romano was reporting it at the time, right? Like, that we were going head-to-head. And I don't know what the reason was, but he chose you guys, and it's been a smart one for him. He's been absolutely class for you. And at the time, I wasn't necessarily ruining it because he was dropping some clangers here and there. But now... boy, that looks like a stinker. But yeah, unbelievable, man. Your defense.
It just goes to show as well. Like when a defense is a unit, right? Like one player can look great, they can look bad if they're surrounded by essentially the wrong type of defense around them. So I think from the point of Gabriel, he has looked a bit stinky and he has done bozo gene, but a lot of that was before Saliba got here. Right, I know it did spill over a little bit into Saliba's and him being together, but for the most part, it was before Saliba got here. It was while Ramsdale was in goal, and there were a lot of bozo genes. No, but I mean there was a lot of bozo ability within that. You know what I mean? Right? Saliba was trying to hold it down. Yeah, like Saliba was trying to hold it down for all three of them. Right, but I think Gabriel now. And I'm not going to give props to Raya for it because I think Gabriel was really good last season as well and really good this season up until Raya came in. But Gabriel seems to just be really like happy and confident. And I think if you see in their interviews as well, like Gabriel and Saliba get on really well. And I think there was a interview question where they asked Gabriel like, oh, when Saliba got injured last season, and Gabriel like almost wants to cry because he's like, I need this guy next to me. So that I think that partnership, the two of them together, is unbelievable, and I think that contributes to the fact that Gabriel feels more confident. He feels like he can go and do the things he needs to do, and Saliba's going to be there to clean up after him if something goes wrong. So I've got to say, I don't think it's all on Gabriel. I think it's just also the fact that like he's been able and allowed to do the things that he needs to do as his kind of defender, which is like a real juggernaut type of like ball stopping defender. So.
He's a beast. He's an absolute beast. He's decent with the ball as well. He's not absolutely shoddy with the ball. He's good enough with the ball. He's a beast. He actually kind of leads and orchestrates where Saliba needs to be sometimes. They're just a great combo, right? And I think they feel very comfortable together. And I hear you. You got to give credit to the duo. But the reason why I'm trying to give Gabriel some more props is because, understandably, right, you guys go so big on the Saliba hype train, right? I'm just trying to say, Gabriel deserves equal amounts of praise, if not slightly more, because I do feel like he's leading that duo as well, right? Like Saliba does beautiful stuff, but you can see Gabriel's the chatter. He's the one organising, trying to get things together. And of course, you need Gabriel's calmness to sometimes, get him to focus properly. And I definitely think you've got to give credit to Saliba for that, which is unbelievable for his age, right? But Gabriel, man, big props, because he's done amazing. And I like your
new hairline, man.
Oi,
that new hairline. Come on, man.
Turkey need a couple of points on his trophy. They need some money, right? But yeah, big up there, man. I think your defense was absolutely colossus, and completely snuffed out their attacking chances. I can't remember anything other than Ake, that header, which he should score, right? Which would have been harsh on you guys to lose. As well. Yeah, but he's like 2 yards out. He misses the header, hits his shoulder. Don't know what he's doing. He should really bury that. And if that goes in, again, that game might change and you might come out and you might play and it could go anyway.
He ends up getting injured after that as well and coming off for Rico Lewis as well. So it's kind of a terrible cameo, unfortunately, from him.
Yeah.
But
poor old Ake.
Yeah. I mean, that could have changed. Like we're saying about the Jesus chances, like that could have changed the game completely. Because if we had been forced to come out and play a bit more, that's when you start losing 3-0 or 2-0 because you're losing the ball in transition and just
but you got to give
people like Haaland.
Yeah, but you got to give yourself credit. It could go either way, right? I've seen games where you score a goal and it opens up, the other team comes and then you batter them, right? You battered good teams that way, not only the crap teams. You've battered some good teams that way as well. So really, it can go either way. But if you get the second, then it becomes the third really quickly. You've got that knack, which I want United to have, and I think we've had in previous years. But you've got the ability to, when you smell blood, you go for it, and you get the second and third and fourth, and then the other team's just destroyed. And we don't. We get 2-goal leads or 1-goal leads, and then we let people back in, which we'll talk about in a minute with the Brentford game. But lastly, before we move on to that, Johns, how do you feel about the title race? Real quick before we move on to the segments, where do you think who's in control? Who's pole position? Do you go simply Liverpool first, so they're in pole, or how do you look at it now?
I think Liverpool have got to be in pole because they're ahead of us and ahead of City, and they've got the easiest run in from now until the end of the season, right? So I think you've got to put Liverpool in the conversation. I think you've got to put them first right now as well, because one thing that's really annoying and I think will help win the title is this ability to just come back from like losing. They've been doing it all season and it's been getting on my nerves. I can't remember. I don't think I could count on 2 hands. I think I'd need 4 hands to start counting how many times they've come back from losing. And I've been messaging people like, oh yes, Liverpool in the mud, they're about to lose. And they end up coming back and winning. And it's annoying the life out of me. So you've got to give them that, plus the fact that they're already in front of us and they've got an easy run in. Like those 3 things together have got to make them the favourites. And I think between City and us, maybe it's a bit of a toss-up. I think we've both got equally hard run-ins from now on. Maybe ours is a little bit harder. But I think you've got to put Liverpool in front, and maybe Arsenal and Man City got to share that second place for now, because I don't see, like, at this point, we've talked about it before, like it's all in our hands and all that rubbish, right? It legitimately is all in Liverpool's hands now, right? Like if they go and win those next 9 games or whatever it is, the title's over and there's nothing we can do about it, right? So from that point of view, like, and also add to the fact that like Tottenham are probably the deciding team, right? They have the ability to decide the title this year. They hate us, they do well against City, I don't remember them doing all that well against Liverpool. So when we look at the
they
fact
beat
that
them earlier.
Well, there you go. Right. But I mean, I still don't think
They beat Liverpool.
No, I know they've beaten Liverpool before, but my point is like out of the 3 teams that they have to choose to win the league, I think they prefer.
City,
and I'm not saying I'm not saying that they're going to give it up by any means or anything else like that. But I think they'd probably choose Liverpool. I don't think they would choose City.
Nah, City, bro. City.
No, why would they want City to lose? They don't hate. I mean,
they don't have any
beef.
Why would they? They don't have any beef with City, but do you not remember all the
they
drama
beat
that
City
came
frequently though?
No, I know, but they could lose. I think City's their least hated team out of the 3 because they've got a little bit of beef with Liverpool because of the Luis Diaz situation, and then let's have a replay and all that crap that happened earlier in the season. I've seen a lot of Spurs fans not being super.
That's beef with the PGMOL, man. That's not beef with Liverpool.
I think they definitely don't want you to win. That's undeniable. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
You're the least favourite of the results. But yeah, let's see. We've got Liverpool on the weekend. So, I wouldn't put a lot of faith in us, but we've beaten them a couple of weeks back. So that's not a foregone conclusion that they'll win.
I'm not counting on you lot, bro. I'm not counting on you.
No, but
yes,
I know. But even a draw would help you. They've got to play Spurs still. I think they've still got Villa. I know they've got the easier run, but there's some I'm not
there's
saying
an ability for them to drop points, of course, but I mean it's all in their hands. Like it legitimately is all in their hands right now. The hardest game that they've probably got is Tottenham and you, right? And we've got to play both as well. So
yeah.
It really all depends on how those things shape up, but it legitimately is all in Liverpool's hands. And I want to hear it. If they end up not winning the league, I want to hear people saying that they bottled it too. All right? Because we were in the same position last year and maybe we had more points ahead, but we were in the same position last year and we didn't end up winning it and everyone said that we bottled it. So let's just keep receipts, everybody. Liverpool are currently 2 points ahead of everyone. 2 points ahead, 9 games, easiest run. They better win it. Quadruples on, or no? I guess trebles on.
We finished that.
Trebles on.
That's not a real treble. But okay, let's get on to the next. Let's get on to the next section of the pod, then, Johns. So let's talk about our horror show at Brentford. So Brentford won, United won. What a disgraceful
They were so
game.
much better than you. They were so much better than you.
I think for the first 15, 20 minutes, there was not much going on in the game, right? Like we had more of the ball, but it was kind of just like both teams feeling each other out. As soon as Brentford started turning it on and wanting to give it a go, it was just all Brentford. And we were at 6s and 7s just trying to keep up with them, really. Tony hits the post, should really score. There's a lot of chat about Tony being really clinical and being, a striker that's going to get a big move. I think he had a good game performance-wise. But he did not do great in front of goal, which I think for a striker, you want them to tuck it away, and I think you should score that one. But lucky for us, it's the inside of the post but goes out, so we get lucky with that. I think Jorgensen got a header that clipped the bar as well. And it was outside of the bar, so it wasn't really ever going to go in. But that contributed to them kind of pummeling us. Second half really carries on the same kind of stuff, to be honest. We still didn't really show too much fight. They're still they went so route one as well. And they could sense
they just smashed the ball up to
problems. Yeah.
They just smashed the ball up to Tony. He was just dropping it down. He has an unbelievable touch for such a big guy as well. Because I don't know how he's bringing some of them balls down, but yeah. And Buemo ends up hitting the bar as well for a beautiful volley kind of thing as well.
Yeah, but that was from the goalie as well. That's from a Flecken goal kick. Don't know why we let it drop. It bounces. Goes over our defenders. I think there's 2 of them there. Tony and Mbeumo waiting to strike it. Mbeumo hits it, crashes the bar. But yeah, overall, Brentford were absolutely dominating us and playing really well. I mean, it's always not really the most attractive football. They do play a bit Bolton-esque, but it was working really well for them.
I enjoyed it,
and it works against us. They've done it pretty much every single time they play us, and it works really well. But for I don't know how this happened, but I could kind of feel it that, we still might have an opportunity here or there. Bring on Mount for Rashford, who is, again, not fantastic. And he comes on and he scores a great finish, to be fair, right? Like he tucks it away really well in the bottom left-hand corner where kind of Flecken has still got it covered, but he puts it right into the side net, and it's a great finish.
It's very shoddy defending in that. It's very shoddy defending in the run-up to that goal, though, man.
It bounces around. It bounces around a bit. This game was not a spectacle either. I've got to preface this again. Even though Brentford kind of dominated it, it was not amazing play. It wasn't like amazing passages of play, passing, moving. It was a lot of long balls, knockdowns, duels, ricochets, all that kind of stuff. And to be fair to them, they were up for it. So they were winning the duels. They were getting onto the second balls. The deflections were landing to them for the most part. And for our goal, though, it was the one time where I feel like it kind of, a couple of ricochets. Antony plays a ball, hits one of their players, bounces up, still goes to McTominay. Then he's in another duel. Hoyland, it just bounces around, and we somehow managed to get the ball.
No, but it ends up getting to Casemiro, and no one followed him. Like, he literally runs from deep, and he's like part of this ping pong kind of pinball-esque. People falling over. The edge. Like there's about 4 Brentford defenders on the floor by the end of by the time it gets to Mount, and it just absolutely stank defensively. But as you say, it wasn't really a great defensive performance from either side, really. And it was a great finish from Mount. To be fair, for the fact that he's going to be so rusty, and the fact he hasn't played that many games, it was a very, very good finish.
Yeah, he tucked it away, and obviously I'm in the group chat saying, quoting Skepta lyrics and all that kind of stuff.
Hold that.
Thinking that there was shut down lyrics as well that were not repeatable on this podcast. And then we think we've nicked it. We did not deserve it, but I was actually still bricking it because I knew that every single time they put a long ball up, a knockdown could create some bedlam. And I have to also say, I'm not going to be too harsh on him because he's just come back from injury, but Lisandro Martinez did not look good in that game. There was one moment where he kicked it against Harry Maguire's head when he had the whole pitch to play it into. He decided to kick it back towards Harry Maguire and hit his head, which they had a chance from. And he just looked completely bamboozled. Like he had this thing on his nose, so I don't know if he's had a ball to the face or an elbow to the face, and he might be part concussed or something. But he had an all-time stinker when he came on. So I think they play.
Tony absolutely done him.
Yeah, is it Godos? I think Godos just casually strokes a ball back in off kind of a clearance. I thought Tony was offside at the beginning, but then it's actually just great play. He curls his run back in, gets the ball, beautiful touch as you said earlier. A couple of shimmies, gets away from Martinez way too easily. Slides a beautiful cutback, and Christopher Ayer, whatever his name is, that massive man-mounted Norwegian don that they have in defence, is there and tucks it away. And I'm just cursing in the living room, but they deserved it 100%. I don't normally agree with Thomas Frank's post matches against us. He normally chats absolute breeze, but this time he was fair. They definitely deserve something. You could argue they deserve to win for sure. And so, no hard feelings. It's very annoying that we score in the 95th minute or whatever it was, with only a few minutes to see the game out. But this is what I said last week, and I've said for probably on repeat for the last 6 months. We cannot be trusted. We cannot be trusted. We cannot be, bet on to hold out leads. Even if you have 10 seconds left of a game, I still have horrible feelings that the opposition can pull one back or even win it. We just cannot be trusted completely with leads. Whether it's 1 goal leads, 2 goal leads, we somehow find a way to conspire against ourselves to give it up. And that would have been such a sweet smash and grab as well. We desperately needed it in this Champions League race. And but for football's sake, I think it was probably a better thing that Brentford got a point. But it's a tough one to take. There are a couple of players who I do think deserve shout-outs, though, that did play well. I think the majority of our team was poor. Obviously, Mount comes on and scores that goal, so it was a decent cameo for him. Hopefully, he can come and play a few more minutes. I think he looked generally much brighter than anything Rashford was doing on the left-hand side. So hopefully he gets a run out and he gets some more minutes. But I think Onana was really good in this game. That double save he made was really, really good. Down to his right. And then he got up really quickly and made the second save, which was kind of De Gea-esque. The whole thing looked very De Gea-like. It didn't look very Onana-like. Even the save style looked kind of De Gea-like. He got down really quickly with the first stop, and then the second one with the leg is very much what De Gea used to Alexis Sanchez-esque, if you remember that Arsenal game where he made a really good save, jumped up and made the second save really well. So I felt like it was a bit harsh on him for him to not get the clean sheet. For once, I think he really deserved it. So that's just how football goes. I think Delot was good again. He was pretty much the only one who looked like he knew how to play football in that first 70, 80 minutes of that game. So I feel like he deserves a shout out. But we did have some stinkers. I thought Rashford wasn't great. I think our centre-backs looked very, very ropey. I don't blame them, right? I think we subbed both of them, didn't we? Subbed Varane and Lindelof off, who are starting centre-backs, and we ended with Martinez and Maguire. I understand completely why we brought on Slabhead, because we needed someone in there to try and, deal with some of the long balls, but even he couldn't do it for both defenders. And I think we struggled in that area throughout. So, yeah, performance-wise, not good. Really worrying. We've got Chelsea away and Liverpool at home in the next 5 or 6 days. So not the greatest time to play those teams, considering how poorly we're playing. But yeah, I think it was terrible performance. And a lot of people are, making reference to the 31 shots faced, 84 touches in our box by Brentford. But, we've beat this horse to a pulp, like dead horse to a pulp, to be honest. We keep talking about this is an intentional style. It doesn't look good. I don't like it. It makes my heart, rate go through the roof, because we know we're going to face loads of shots and there's always a big gap in midfield. It doesn't make sense. It's not a sustainable style of play, but that's clearly what Ten Hag is. He's worked it out that a lot of our defenders are better off blocking and are not good playing a high line. And he's worked out that our attacking unit are better off trying to, press the ball high and try and get the ball quickly and get quick turnovers to try and score goals. I don't agree with the style of play, but we're going to have these numbers. We're going to face a lot of shots. Like, not a lot of them. Again, not a lot of them were super, super dangerous. A lot of them were still long ranges. A lot of them were blocked. A lot of them kind of, I know there were 3 or 4 that hit the bar, which are more than normal. But it is what it is. So I'm not really going to lose my shit about those stats, because I'm expecting to have not maybe this bad, but I'm expecting to face a high number of shots, to have a high number of opposition touches in our box. But yeah, it's not a good sign. I don't think it's what we want to do long term, right? So I would say Champions League dreams are over. They might have been over already for a couple of weeks, but they definitely now are over. We're 8 points behind Tottenham. I think we're 11 points behind, or 10 points or 9 points behind Aston Villa. I don't normally always agree with Big Ange and his loving, but he made a decent point when the reporters asked him, "Are you worried about United chasing you down?" And he's like, would you ask that question of Man City? Because we're only 8 points behind Man City, so would you put us in the title race on that logic? Which is fair. Like, 8 points, we're a long way behind. There's 9 games left. I would say we're long shot at best. If not, we're more worried about the people behind us than catching Spurs and Villa at this point. We've completely thrown it away with the Fulham loss and this draw. I think you can say it's over for us. But yeah, John, do you have anything to add? I think I've wrapped up how bad we were, but you might want to stick the knife in as well. What do you think?
No, I just want to give credit to Brentford, because I think they were really good. And as much as that style of play is not in or trendy today, it works. And if they do play like Bolton, I enjoyed watching Bolton. Right, Bolton weren't the worst team to watch Arsenal, at all times, right? Yeah, not when they played us, of course, because that was our kryptonite. But I think generally speaking, it was Thomas Frank. I've said it before when we played them like a couple of weeks ago, maybe. I said that he knows what he's doing to set up against teams. And as much as you say your tactical model right now is to just defend deep and then press high from your attackers, I think he got the game plan perfectly right. And if it would just, a couple millimeters either way, and they beat you convincingly. And so I think they were good value. I think they deserved a win, and I think outside of that Mount chance, you didn't have any really clear-cut chances that would make me say that Brentford
Nothing.
Brentford deserved to draw or anything like that. But no, just generally speaking, I think it was a really good performance from Brentford. You guys, I don't know if you were terrible as much as you kind of just let them play exactly how they wanted to play, and it didn't seem like you had like a tactical response to how they were setting up. And despite all the changes made, it seemed to just continue. Right, none of your changes really had a massive impact on the defensive end to really change the way that Brentford were playing against you. Obviously, bringing Mount on was great, because if I think back to myself, like, would Rashford have put that away? So it's a toss-up, really. And people forget that Mount is a good finisher. When he was at Chelsea, he scored a lot of goals, right? For that kind of position, he's a good finisher. He's he scores a lot of goals. So I think from that point of view, like, it was a good substitution to get him on and to get him in that position to score, because it was a very, very good finish. And then, I think from there, really, you guys should feel not hard done by, but you should feel a little bit disappointed, because how you score in the 96th minute, how do you not just set everyone behind the ball and say, you know what, we're going to smash and grab this and leave? And the fact that, like, I'm not going to go too hard on Lissandro. I don't think it was entirely his fault, but, like, how do you, off of a corner, someone heads it out, they get it back to Godos, whoever it is, and he curls one, which was a really stupid ball to play, in my opinion, because he put so much spin on the ball. I thought by the time it got to Tony, I was thinking, there's no way you're going to be able to control that, all right? Like, you're going to shin that, and it's going to go out for a goal kick. And he somehow manages to get it down, like, does a little shimmy, stops, and then keeps going again. And Lissandro Martinez just doesn't know, that looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. And it was an unbelievable kind of setup from Tony. So from that point of view, I'm kind of shocked that you guys wouldn't just see the game out. But at the end of the day, like, if we're talking about, like, karma, I think Brentford definitely deserved at least a point from that game. I think from the Champions League perspective, I mean, I'm looking at the table now. You're 11 points off of Aston Villa, but you've got a game in hand, so you can get that down obviously to about 8. Tottenham have, I think they're 3 points off of Aston Villa with the game in hand as well. So it could end up being Aston Villa and Tottenham both on 59, and you guys on 51, with all kind of equal games.
So we're 8 off. So if we win our game in hand,
so you're 8 off. Exactly. I mean, if Tottenham lose their game in hand as well, then you could be less than that off. So. But it's a big ask, and I think, of course, Man United still have the what I'm going to call the clutch gene. Just the fact that you scored in the 96th minute when you were playing so badly, you still have that clutch gene in you. So I wouldn't be, like, shocked if you managed to make it close, right? And it came down to maybe the last game of the season, and you guys were, like, right on Tottenham and Aston Villa's asses. But I just think it might be a little bit too much, and I think, of the two teams, your best bet is to try and catch Tottenham, because I think Unai, as a manager, has too much experience to let this kind of slip from here. I think there's a chance that Big Angie, as I used to call him, could let this slip. He hasn't been in this kind of position before. It's his first time in this league. I know that he's obviously managed well in other leagues too, but I'm not sure if he has the pedigree to ward off a chasing Man United, which is, despite being terrible right now, it's still a big ask. Man United are still Man United. Old Trafford is still Old Trafford. And there is something in the water around you guys, even if you're playing terribly, that you will somehow get something. So I still think there's a chance that you could catch Tottenham, especially because of the fact that Tottenham have so many hard games from now on. They've got Liverpool, Arsenal, and City. It's a tough one.
Yeah. I think it's not 0%, but it's low. It's very, very low. So I think I would agree with you. It's not impossible for us to cut the deficit down to a respectable distance and maybe make it a bit nail biting in the last game or two. But it's going to be reminiscent of Liverpool last season, I reckon. At best case, we can cut it down and make them a little bit shaky, but I don't think realistically it's possible. It would take a monumental collapse from both of them for us to get top 4, and even 5th place. It would take a collapse from one of them, which is possible with Spurs because of their fixtures. But they're playing all right, man, and they're getting late goals. They're just about sneaking it out. So I still don't think we're anywhere near consistent. People are forgetting the games that we've got. We've still got to go to Chelsea this week. We've still got to play Liverpool at home. We've still got to play you at home. It ain't easy. we've still got a lot more points to drop. So yeah, I think our season's just going to peter out and we're going to finish sixth. I think the only hope we've got again is FA Cup, and again, repeat what I just said about 20 seconds ago. It's not going to be straightforward. So yeah, let's wrap up this Dower Fest and move on to the preview section. So we've obviously got double game week this week, both of us, which I'm kind of annoyed about because players have just come back from international duty and you're slapping double game weeks in. And then I think you've got the Champions League next middle of the week. So you're going to have so many games over these next couple of weeks in April. It's I hate the way this season's set up. It needs to be rethought out because there's months where we have just big old gaps everywhere, and then there's months where we're just absolutely slamming the players with loads of games. Think of December is a terrible period. April again coming up with all these games. We've got to work out a more sustainable calendar for them. But let's get into the midweek games first. John, so you guys are up first. Arsenal at home to Luton on Wednesday. Luton have actually they've played decent away. They haven't got good results away, but they've played decent. They were at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the weekend. Well, 1-0 up for a large portion of that game, drawing until the last 10 minutes, until Son steps up and gets the win for them, and they kind of feel a little bit hard done by. But yeah, give me your preview and your prediction. Arsenal versus Luton. What do you think the game will be like, and do you think you get the dub?
I think we will get the win. I'm going to say that we're going to win 3-1. I think Luton are very good. I do, my opinion of them has changed a lot over the last, let's say, 10, 12 game weeks. I think they've really shown me something that I didn't see at the beginning, which was a hell of a lot of fight, right? They might not have the players for it, but they've got a lot of fight. And it's a difficult team to play. I think if Luton were at home, I would say, the result would be even closer. But I think when it comes to playing like quality teams, I don't know if they're going to have enough to come to the Emirates and really get something from the game. So I'm going to say that it's going to be maybe like a 3-1 win to us. I think we'll probably go 2-0 up. It'll get a little bit closer, 2-1. They'll get a goal back, and then we'll kind of close the game out with a late third goal. But I don't think it will be easy by any means. I think Luton, you have to realise at the same time, for teams like Arsenal, City, Liverpool, United, Aston Villa, Tottenham, this is really important time of the year, right? We're all trying to get positions. We're all trying to get titles, whatever it is. At the same time, teams like Luton are just trying to survive, man. And I would say that the need to survive probably outweighs the need to achieve a Champions League spot. So when you're coming up against teams like Luton, it's going to be a tough game, right? These next 8 games, it's going to be a real hard slog against them because they're fighting for their actual survival. And especially with all these points deductions like happening and then not happening and then getting reinstated and whatever else, for them, there's even more need for them to be like, we need to win every single game from here on out to make sure that we stay in this league. So I don't think any team coming up against Luton is going to have an easy ride. I think it's going to be a real tough one. But I think when it comes to Arsenal, coming off of a good result against City, I think maybe some of our players will be tired, I'm sure. So I don't know if we're going to go out there and spank them, but I do think it will be, we will win the match and we will deserve to win it.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think it'll be a little bit tighter because I do think Arteta will rotate. You got a really hard game away on Saturday at Brighton. So I think off the back of the City one and being sandwiched between the City one and this Brighton away game that you've got on the weekend, I think he'll rotate the team a bit. And I think that will make the result a little bit closer. And I think you'll win the game. I reckon that's pretty much nailed on, but I reckon it'll be 2-1. And I wouldn't be surprised if you score a couple of goals and they pull one back, or maybe they take the lead and you kind of have to fight back and get the win. But yeah, Luton are a really tricky team to play. I think we beat them 1-0. Tottenham beat them 2-1. None of the big teams have spanked them, I think, home or away. So I think it will be a tricky one. And I think you'll get the win. But I think you could be a team that spanks them if you go full strength, by the way. I'm only saying this result because I do think Arteta will play around with the team a little bit, maybe bring in Smith Rowe, bring in, Tomiyasu, bring in a few players and shuffle the pack a bit, which I think is the right thing because you've got this big game against Brighton. I think you could probably get away with it against Luton, but I think it's going to be a little bit tighter because of that. So I'm going to go Arsenal 2, Luton 1 for my prediction. Let's go on to the United game then. We're playing Chelsea away. This is a rearranged fixture. I think we were supposed to play it a couple of weeks back, but because of our involvement in the FA Cup, we couldn't do it. We actually haven't got the worst record at Stamford Bridge recently. It used to be a bit of a hoodoo ground for us. But I think last season we absolutely peppered them. And, somehow I think McTominay gave away a late penalty and Casemiro had to do that unbelievable header to get the draw in the end. And there were absolute limbs and scenes going on in the away end. But Chelsea are such a hard team to predict, man, because they were absolutely peppering. Was it Burnley they were 2-0 up against? Or at least 1-0 and then 2-1, and it looked like they were, going to coast it out. Cole Palmer was tucking goals away again. And they just conspired to screw it up, and Burnley managed to get a draw, which I don't know how anyone, managed to
goalkeeper had a bit of a ropey moment. And obviously
Robert
their back
Sanchez,
line is a bit... I think it was actually... Wasn't it Petrovic?
No, I saw the highlights, I saw the highlights and it looked very Robert Sanchez-ish, the way he was diving around. So I think Sanchez played that game. But yeah, I would be shocked if it was Petrovic. They look like Sanchez mistakes because I've seen him drop some clangers and he just generally always flails about. Because he let in that header at the corner and it went straight through his hands. That was definitely not Petrovic. I'm almost certain of it.
No, it was Petrovic.
Really?
It was Petrovic. Yeah, he had an absolute stinker of a game because I remember watching it and yeah, he kind of pushes it into his own net. And obviously Badiashile and Disasi just looked like shocking all the time. Gusto is really the only part of that defence that I actually don't half mind. Everyone else in that defence is absolutely rubbish. So yeah, no, Chelsea are... And there were some weird decisions in that match. Like Assignon should never have got sent off and they should never have got that penalty on Mudryk that Cole Palmer ended up chipping down the middle. But yeah, no, they should have won that game comfortably and just made it way harder for themselves the whole time. And the referee kind of helped them get over the line in that one because they could easily have lost it if that had not happened.
Yeah, no, they that's rattled me a bit that Petrovic made those mistakes because I've really liked him. He's looked really good, and it just looked like an absolute carbon copy of stuff that Robert Sanchez does. So that's maybe they will come and get Ramsdale. Petrovic keeps dropping these clangers. That might bring you another 20 million or 30 million or whatever. But yeah, no, Chelsea are just back to it. Chelsea are so hard to predict. I think we'll win because whenever we play Chelsea, we somehow seem to be kind of their kryptonite. Like we seem to always absolutely batter them whenever we play them recently. And we're kind of really similar teams, aren't we? The only difference is we've got a few more experienced players, which I think when you get in games against them where they've only got the youngsters, can sometimes be the little, kind of additional bit that we have over them. So I'm going to go Chelsea 1, United 2, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw. I don't expect us to lose. I can't rule it out because of how, all over the place we are, but I expect us to probably win the game, but it'll be tighter than it should be. We'll probably have loads of chances, miss them, still somehow manage to score a few goals. So I'm going to go United 2, Chelsea 1. What do you think for that game?
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I don't think Chelsea ever are in low-scoring games at this point in time. They just end up... Well, I'm looking at their last few fixtures. 2-2 against Burnley, 4-2 against Leicester, 3-2 against Newcastle, 2-2 against Chelsea, 3-2 against Leeds. Like, these guys are going to let goals in no matter what happens. And I'm looking at your last few games. 4-3 Liverpool, 2-0 Everton, 3-1 City, 1-0 Forest. I think the two of you are in for a high-scoring game because I think there is a mistake in every single one of the defenders on that pitch. And now every single one of the goalkeepers on that pitch. So I'm going to go for a 3-2 Chelsea home win. But I think it's going to be a really entertaining game, right? It's the thing that I was saying before. When two teams are have some frailties, but they're also quite good at offensively, it makes for a great game, man. And I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I don't know whether it'll be you win or they win. I think it could go really either way. And you guys probably have more bottle to finish out the match and win it. But all I know is that there's going to be at least 4 goals scored in this game. People are going to go brazy, and it's going to get really entertaining. So I'm really looking forward to watching this match, to be honest with you. More so than Luton against Arsenal, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's got more potential to be a better spectacle, just because both teams are pretty attacking. Both teams have got weaknesses in defence, and also stylistically, I think don't prioritise defending. Let's be perfectly honest. I think Chelsea don't, and I think we don't, which is quite weird. And I can see it being a high scoring one, but I think we won 2-1 early in the season. We should have won about 4-1. We did beat them. I think 4-1 last season.
Yeah, you beat them 4-1 last season. Yeah, and 1-1.
But away it was 1-1. So this is the thing. I think normally at Stamford Bridge it's a little bit less high scoring, but I can see 2-2. I can see 2-1. I think 3-2. I'm not sure if I can see that many goals coming, but I can see it being entertaining for sure. But I'm gonna support the my team, and I'm gonna say we're just gonna be nicking it. But I wouldn't be shocked if your result came through. Let's get onto the weekend games then. So we've got
Liverpool,
Arsenal. Oh yeah, we'll start with your game first because chronologically you guys are on Saturday. So you got Brighton away, really tough game, even though they've got loads of injuries. And a lot of their first teamers are out. They still gave Liverpool a really good game. Danny Welbeck scoring obviously the goal early on, and they were absolutely peppering them at the end of the game, and it could have been 2-2 if they made some better choices. Brighton are not the worst team ever. They're very attacking, but I think the last time you went there and battered them, didn't you, last season? So and you've beaten them at home this season.
Yeah.
So what do you think? How do you think this game will go? Do you think it will be more of the run in last season where they went to the Emirates and beat you, or do you think it'll be more of kind of the same of the results you've had generally against them?
I'm gonna go. I think it's gonna be more of the same. I think the last 2 times that we've played them, I remember De Zerbi coming out and just being like, they were better than us. There's nothing we can do about it. They were just better than us. And I'm not gonna say that it's gonna be as easy as that. Yeah. Like we beat them 2. I think 2-0. We did lose to them back end of last season. That was one of the ones that really infuriated me at home in May. And we also battered them earlier in that season when we were away against them. I think it was 4-2, not battering, but we beat them 4-2. So I think I'm going to go for.
It was 4-0, and then
So
you did batter them. You did batter them.
Yeah, but I'm going to say for us, I think it's going to be I'm going to go for a 4-1 win.
Man's got on the side of the batterings again. Fair enough.
No, because I'm looking at so the few times that we've played them, we've been better. Right, obviously apart from that home game back end of last season, but I think we've been better than them. I think of course they're coming off some weird results, man. They lost to Liverpool. They beat Roma 1-0. They beat Nottingham Forest, but they got battered by Roma 4-0. They got battered by Fulham 3-0. So I think it's a weird one. I don't know what's happened with Brighton this season, but depends on who turns up and when they turn up. But they can be absolutely class or they can be absolutely rubbish. So I'm hoping for the latter.
Yeah, we talk about United being like a bag of revels, but Brighton are the biggest bag of revels ever. This season, they've been so unpredictable. They've taken absolute slappings and they've given out slappings, and they've it's been so hard to understand or predict what they're going to play like. In terms of their success of playing the way they want to play. Like sometimes they play it perfectly, and it looks like Pep eat your heart out. De Zerbi's got all the plans, and then other days it looks like they don't know what the heck they're doing, and there's no cohesion.
They've lost 4-0 to Luton. Earlier in the season, they lost 4-0 to Luton, man.
They've taken slappings. I'm pretty sure they got pummeled by Aston Villa or Newcastle, and then pummeled the opposite team. The other way. Like it's just really hard to predict what you're going to get with them. But I'm going to go for this being a humdinger, and I'm going to go Brighton 3, Arsenal 3. I think you're going to absolutely go for it. Brighton are going to go for it, and I think it's going to be a real good game. I think this is going to be your spectacle of the two fixtures. I think Brighton will go for it, and I think you'll go for it. And I think De Zerbi's got to have something loading for you guys, because really you battered them. I know it was 2-0, but that was the best Arsenal performance I'd seen in that period. Remember, that was when you guys were all kind of moaning and whinging a little bit because you were winning games but not playing very well. But in that game, you absolutely turned it on and gave them the worst slapping of all. Like I know the scoreline doesn't say that, but I haven't seen Brighton battered like that ever. Like even in the games when they lost 4-0, they've been in with it. But you absolutely gave them, a tonking. So I'm kind of predicating this on De Zerbi kind of having a bit of a chip on his shoulder and going, I can't lose that badly this time, and I have to come up with a tactical plan, especially for you guys. So I think he's going to have something bespoke waiting for you on Saturday. But I still think you're good enough to win it, or get a high scoring draw. I don't think he's going to lock you up. I think your attacking prowess is going to be... I might be going too far with 3 Brighton goals. Like they might only score 1 or 2 because your defense is pretty good.
Just stopped City from scoring at the Etihad, and now we're going to let 3 goals in against Brighton. If you're right about that, you are an absolute guru.
This is the type of crazy one I'll get right, though. But when a team's winning 3-1 and I say they're going to win, which is the conventional thing to think, they never win. So let's see. I'm trying to just end this curse.
And now you're going to say Man United beat Liverpool
4-0. Yeah. No, let's get into the United-Liverpool game then. Blimey. I remember the last time we had Liverpool in the FA Cup and then also had them following up at Old Trafford, like in a short space of time. It was in one of the COVID seasons. And we beat them, I think it was 3-2 or 4-3. I think it was 3-2 in the FA Cup. Bruno scored a peach of a free kick, and that was when Liverpool was struggling a bit, and we beat them 3-2 in the FA Cup, and then we had them again at home at Old Trafford in the league, like a few months later, or a month and a half later, whatever, and we were expecting more of the same, and I think we lost 4-2 in the end, and Dean Henderson was playing, and that was the start of my hate of Dean Henderson, where he was goalkeeping like an absolute baboon. Mo Salah scored a couple of goals and it was an all-round stinker. So I have that in my head, at the back of my head. I have this horrible worry that we're going to do the same thing. We'll win in the FA Cup against them in a humdinger, and then we'll absolutely bottle it in the league game, which probably matters arguably more, right? They fight for the title. But my heart is telling me we're going to get up for this game again and we're going to stick it on them. I don't think it will be quite as amazing and back and forth and basketballish as the FA Cup game was. So I think it'll be slightly lower scoring. But I'm going to go for United 3, Liverpool 2, and I think we're going to help you lot and City out with a result against the Scousers, and we'll just about beat them. But I would not be shocked at all again. I'm going to have the same prediction for every result going forward. You can just mark this down now, Johns. Probably going to predict the United win, but I'm going to preface every single prediction with, I wouldn't be shocked if we drew. I would absolutely not be shocked if we lost, because this is United at the moment. So I'm going to go for 3-2 though, and I think we'll be up for it. And I think that first 20 minutes against Liverpool was the best we played all season. I think we were absolutely on them. We suffocated them. We played really well. We obviously then, for the next 60 minutes, showed how, we've been for the rest of the season and let them at it. But I'm banking on us putting in something similar of a performance, hoping by then, Martinez has a few more, minutes in his legs. We've got, some other players back. Casemiro's got some more minutes in his legs and they actually show up. But yeah, it might be a bit of a long shot. But I'm going to go 3-2 Man United. What are you going to say, Johns?
4-1 Liverpool.
Man's doing it again. And why?
Yeah, because
I'm
looking back at your
4-1?
fixtures, man. You guys are a mixed bag. They beat you 7-0. You beat them 4-0. They beat you 4-0. How can you guess it? Like, they've come to, I think in 2021 they came to Old Trafford and beat you 5-0. And
yeah, we don't talk about
honestly,
that.
I don't know I don't even know what to say. All I know is that these games tend to be one-sided. Whichever team wins it relatively convincingly. Up until obviously the last game that you just played against them. So I think they're obviously going to have Salah back properly as well. And I think he's going to be the difference maker. So I'm going to say, I'm going to go for a 4-1. I think I think you'll do the same thing that you did last time. Though I think you'll get an early goal and you'll be good for it, and then it all just topples. And I think Liverpool are the best team when it comes to being a goal down, being 2 goals down. They just somehow manage to come back. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 4-1 Liverpool win, but I think it will be a 1-0 to you, and then they just suddenly turn it on and start smashing you.
Yeah, I mean, the result sounds a bit extreme, but I get it. But even based on the FA Cup game, I get it, because we went 1-0 up, but they obviously flipped it to 2-1 real quickly, and then they had 2 or 3 like 4-on-1, 4-on-2 breaks where they should have made better decisions and could have killed the game. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that they do the same this time, but actually manage to convert them and put us away. And don't get me wrong, we can probably come back from a 1-goal deficit, but if we go 2 or 3 goals down, it could become 7-0 again. We've got that propensity in us. So yeah, let's see how it turns out. For my sake, hopefully, I hope both of your predictions for us are wrong, because you predicted 2 United losses. And I hope mine are right, because I predicted 2 wins. But let's see how it goes. We've got an action-packed week of Prem football. A lot will be kind of clearer after these 2 games, I guess, because you've both got some big games. And we'll probably know a bit more about the title race and a bit more about this, whether there is a top 4 race going into next week. But yeah. All right, John. So I think we can wrap up the pod here. It's been a good one. Not to be honest, the results weren't fantastic ones for us to get into our super analytical bag and have super big debates about, because they were generally 2 pretty stinky results. So let's hope this game week, these 2 game weeks, bring up some more for us to chat about next week, and we can get into a nice debate about how things went. But sure. All right. Cheers, Johns. We'll speak to everyone next week, and speak to you soon. Take care.
Cheers, Ant. Cheers, everyone.
Sports Social Podcast Network.